Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to 15 Good Minutes. It's your guy, Coach B. I'm here with the A-Team. Freddie, how are we today, man?
Well, and you? How you doing, JR?
Doing good, man. Went out for a little walk. Good to go.
Excellent. Day by day.
Yes, sir.
Can't do it over here. It's 100 degrees over here.
Stay indoors, buddy.
But we had a tornado watch over here in Prince George's County.
Got some wild weather when it gets hot, you know what I mean? And then that stuff gets built up like that.
Hey, send that stuff over here. We need it. We need it. 10, 12, 17 straight days of triple digits. Nah, man. Send that stuff over. The rain, send it over here.
Can do. Well, we're going to talk about something today that's been kind of on my mind for a while. So I figure I'm going to throw it out to you guys and get your opinion. So I want to start off by saying, first and foremost, this is not going to be a referendum against Kevin Durant, but I want to have a conversation about pro athletes who just don't honor their contract, and what, if any, impact you guys see on the game. What impact does it have on the fans, if at all? And I know we haven't talked about it as a group, so I figured this would be a good a time as any. So first off, with you, JR, any opening thoughts on where we are with that? And you can feel free to talk about, Kevin, but it's not just him. But how do you feel about players that just don't honor the contract?
I've always thought, in my opinion, I've always thought it was terrible, because if they're allowed to back out a contract, I just don't see how it's legal. You sign the contract to play. Whatever you don't like here doesn't matter. The contract is the contract, right? So that's like saying, I'm going to buy a car. I want out of the contract. I don't want to drive it no more. I want something new. So where do we go with it, with the contract? Do they mean anything? Do they don't mean anything? I've always felt you got a deal, you finish your deal.
I agree with JR. I think you should honor your contract. Pro athletes now, they have more power and more leverage than they did in the mid 90s, right? You say, with the situation, let's take, for example, Ben Simmons, whether he was hurt, whether he wasn't hurt, I don't know. Only he truly knows, and his camp and the team and doctors, they're the ones that only really know. Players now, they have a lot more leverage. And so now, if you look at Kevin Durant, let's say Kevin Durant, for example, honoring his contract, he has 4 years, $194 million left. So if you're the Brooklyn Nets, you have to look at it from several perspectives. Do you play hardball and try to make him honor that contract? Yeah, you could, but then you could have a disgruntled player. And then I don't think Kevin is the type of player that would fake an injury and sit down and
like Anthony Davis did.
Right. I don't think Kevin is that type of player. But do you really want that negative attention around your club? Okay,
so let's run with that for a second. So then why even have a contract?
Exactly.
Let's just say, Kevin, come play until you're unhappy and you leave, Freddie.
Yeah.
Why would you sign a long-term contract? He's got 4 years left on it, but now we as an organization have to say, ooh, do we want a disgruntled player? I think that's bullshit, man.
Yeah,
I would agree.
So basically the teams have to have some form of leverage, and that's why I gave New Orleans back in the day a little bit of credit, because they was like, nope, we ain't letting your ass go. And and so what? We're going to lose. They mortgaged to the hilt to get that first round pick with AD. Yeah. And what he did, and I don't want to single him out either because it's indicative. I think Freddie's 100% right. I don't think that they have more power now. I think they do. And more importantly, Freddie, I think the organizations empower them by allowing that shit in the first place.
Yep. His name is Yeltsin. He's a hockey player in the 70s. This dude, he wanted to play for a new team. I want to test free agency, but still had a year left on his contract. So what Ottawa did was they said, oh, you're going to sit out? Okay, sit out. He sit out a whole year. After that year was over, guess what? They talked to the NHL, say he didn't play for us a year. He still owes a contract. He still had to go back and play that year, and that's what teams need to do.
Why, all right, okay, stay with that thought. Why don't they then?
I don't get it. And it's probably what Freddie said. They're afraid of having that negativity or whatever on the team. But if if we're gonna either we're gonna pay you to stay home or we're gonna sue you to get back money from your contract.
I want to find their ass every day they miss.
Exactly. That's what you gotta do.
But see that here's the thing, right? And I agree with you, but it's also one of those things to where if you say you're gonna fine them, and so if you say, oh, if you're gonna do this to Kevin Durant or Deebo Samuel, you're gonna fine them for every game or every day that they're not in training camp or what have you, right? Then that could impact the team with getting players or future stars down the line.
I don't care though. None of that shit matters. What is the alternative, Freddie? So we just give in because we want to make sure that the players like us.
You got the what they call those people, the crazy people running.
No. What I'm saying though, Jr. is I understand what Freddie's saying. So basically, in translation, the organizations have no leverage, no nothing.
Have no leverage.
We must be concerned that the players have a bond and they may not want to come and play for us.
And here's the other thing: you
don't need contracts.
You really don't think all these people hopscotching don't affect the fans? If I come and I know I got KD here for another 4 or 5 years, and now he ain't coming, especially those people that bought the season tickets.
Mm-hmm.
That has
right. You know. To your point though, that's great. The people in OKC they lose out, but guess what? The people in Golden State bought more season tickets. So
yeah,
it impacts the local fans, and I get that. I'm just more rooted in. Are we now at a point where we're saying that the document you sign means nothing?
I think to be
and one other point. I don't mean to cut you off, Freddie. One other point is this don't apply to every pro, just the elite pro. So
yeah, that's true.
But yeah, as crazy as it may sound, the NFL actually has the right model in regards to this particular topic. The NFL actually has the right model because the NBA, this stuff is 100% guaranteed.
One question for you, though. One question.
Mm-hmm.
If the NFL got this model, how is it that Eli Manning can say, I ain't going to play when I get drafted unless you send me somewhere? How is it that John Elway can say the same thing? NFL ain't got it right. These cats pick where they were going to go.
I'm saying pertaining to the contract portion of it. But what I'm saying is he was able to because they traded the draft rights.
Why?
Because he said he didn't want to play.
Thank you. That's all I'm going to. I don't understand how you are a college kid. You ain't played a day in my league, and you're going to come out the draft saying, I'm not playing for San Diego unless you find me somewhere. That's what I'm saying I have a problem with. Not the fact, to your point, I know what San Diego did, but I thought they did it with their hands tied behind their back. And to your point about the NFL having the right model, Eli Manning, John Elway, Eric Dickerson, Randy Moss, Jerome Bettis, Antonio Brown, Marshall Faulk, Brett Favre, and Joe Montana. The NFL ain't doing nothing no different than the NBA. The high-end pros are squeezing these organizations, man.
No. What I'm saying is if you're under contract,
like Randy Moss was.
Right. If you're under contract, and you say, oh, I ain't going to play because I want more money, it's really up to that team.
How is that any different than what we're talking about with Kevin Durant?
Was it Le'Veon Bell a few years back when he said he was threatening to sit out, and he actually did hold out into the season? I think it was him. And the speculation, he'll come back before week 6 or whatever it was. Why? Because if he didn't come back before then, he lose an accrued season, right?
And he did. And Pittsburgh is the only team that I could find today that did it right.
Right.
They did not acquiesce to his demands. They did not release him. And oh, by the way, he forfeited game checks week after week after week.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
That has nothing to do with the NFL having it right. That has something to do with, in my opinion, with the ownership of the Pittsburgh Steelers saying, not on my watch.
But they had it right based off of what the rules that were in place.
I think that with the exception of the Steelers, to your point, not many organizations are holding the guys accountable. You can't go into your boss tomorrow and say, I'm holding out for more money and expect them to say, okay, you're going to be gone. And so I guess this is where I have to wrap it up is like, I spent like a great portion of my adult life coaching, and a great portion of that portion is making sure that we teach young men responsibility. We teach things that are the right way. 98.5% of the people that all three of us coach never play at the pro level. So consequently, these lessons that you gave them, Freddie, these lessons that you gave them, JR, are things that are going to make them productive members of society. And I just feel some kind of way that we teach them this, but then they can watch what you see on TV and say, I'm Kevin Durant, independent of what I'm guaranteed. I got 4 years obligated to this organization, but I'm saying I'm holding out. Not only am I holding out, these are the 5 teams I'm willing to play for.
Yeah.
And I know I said I wasn't going to make it a referendum against him, and I don't mean to. He's just the most recent, but Kawhi Leonard, Jimmy Butler, Melo, Kyrie, Anthony Davis, Paul George, Vince Carter, James Harden, CP3. There's a long list of really good pros that held out. I'll leave you guys with this last question. Does it ever change? JR, does it change, or is this just the way of pro sports?
I think eventually organizations going to have to get together and do something, because like I said before, I think it's crushing the league. I think people are getting frustrated with thinking they have a homegrown superstar or whatever it is for this amount of time, and nobody's never finishing the contract. You know what I'm saying? So it's to me, it's going to be up to ownership to start saying, "Oh, you're going to sit out? Okay, sit out."
Freddie, does ownership really do that, or do we just have to adjust?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think right now ownership, their hands are tied into the next CBA is up for negotiation. I think their hands are probably tied for right now. They're going to sit back and get together and say all of this stuff that's going on from here on back or whatever. I think they'll sit back and say, look, we have to do something about this. I think they should get together and say, we got to stop this, but they can't do much about it now.
But when these guys get together and say, let's go play here, let's go play there, that's all good.
I don't have a problem with that if those people who want to collude to do that are no longer under contract. If they want to do I'm fine with that. And I can't say enough about what Pittsburgh did to Freddie's point, with Bell. And at the time he held out, JR, he was a stud of a running back. We're not talking about a guy who was coming in just on third downs. He was at the epitome of his career, and he tried to do what AB did. And at some point, Pittsburgh was like, you know what? Enough of this shit. We ain't doing it no more. And I also say this. When you look at certain players, I'll always applaud players like Kevin Garnett. Really didn't want to leave Minnesota. Played in a non-large market in the majority of his career. And when the time came, when the contract was up, with tears, he left. Went to a team and got a championship. Hats off to that for honoring your contract. He was a big star. He could have left Minnesota and held out and done all that shit, but he didn't do it. And I still think that there's value in that. To Freddie's point, I think that I'm probably the minority there, though, because I believe that Kevin Durant will get his wish, that now Brooklyn has to go through all this shit to rearrange their organization, and they can't do it by themselves, JR. So it's going to be a 3-4 team deal.
Yeah.
And if you're that team, if you're on that short list that Kevin chooses, what guarantee do you think you have that when he gets there next year, he ain't gonna do that shit to you?
But guess what? You don't.
It's integrity too.
If you Brooklyn,
integrity, they have none. There's no real integrity.
If I'm Brooklyn,
100.
I'm sitting back and I'm saying, you know what, Kevin? We are going to determine the value that we get in return for you, right?
How about this, Freddie? Why can't they do what Houston did? John Wall bought his contract out.
Yes, right.
I got no problem with that. Kevin ain't offering to write a check.
Right. But
so JR, it looks like we got a freeze frame on Freddie. He might have dropped. If y'all watching on the video, you see that big old mug smiling like this. That's our time to cut out. Our question of the week: what do you think about athletes not honoring their contract? Is it okay? Is it not okay? JR, you got any thoughts before we bug out?
Nope, I'm good to go. I'll see y'all next week.
Freddie has no comments before we get out. We also will see you guys next week. Please weigh in at Twitter 15 Good Minutes or on YouTube.com/15 Good Minutes. We would love to hear what you guys think. Until then, everybody, have a great weekend.